Why does it sound like you're fleeing the scene?
Falcone's idiot kid decided to try to play in the big leagues. Put a crew together and broke.
Now that James Gunn has officially taken over the DC universe, and with Superman movie out and letting fans know his vision for DC, and fans have been closely watching every move. And one of the biggest surprises was learning that Jason Momoa is sticking around, but not as Aquaman. Instead, he's stepping into the role of Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl movie. That single casting choice says a lot about Gunn's mindset for this rebooted DC Studios era, because it shows he's willing to keep actors from the DCEU, just not necessarily in the same roles. And naturally, fans are starting to wonder, if Jason Momoa gets a second chance, then why not Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck's Batman never got his own solo film, despite years of teasing and plans that were scrapped more than once. Now, there's this growing buzz online, some even call it a theory, that the Lobo we'll see in Supergirl might cross paths with Affleck's Batman in some capacity. A few rumors even hint that the two could fight on screen, either as a flashback, a multiversal collision, or maybe something bigger. It might sound out there, but in the comics, Lobo and Batman have clashed more than once. For example, in Batman Superman Volume 2 number 28, they have a brutal fight full of raw power and snarky one-liners. And in Batman vs. Lobo, we saw just how chaotic their dynamic can get. So if Gunn wants to bring that explosive energy to life in the new DCU, the groundwork's already there. Now, stepping back a bit, if there's any one story that could tie all these loose ends together and give Affleck's Batman a proper send-off he never got, it's The Dark Knight Returns. That legendary comic by Frank Miller isn't just a fan favorite, it's tailor-made for the kind of Batman Affleck played. A grizzled, aging vigilante haunted by loss, hardened by experience, and forced to come out of retirement for one last fight. It fits beautifully with the tone Zack Snyder had already set up, and it gives a natural platform to revisit characters like Jared Leto's Joker, the abandoned nightmare future, and even Deathstroke, who was meant to play a major part in Affleck's cancelled solo movie. Which leads us to another missed opportunity, Ben Affleck's solo Batman film. Originally, he was going to write, direct, and star in it. The movie was supposed to feature Deathstroke as the main villain, and early footage even teased Joe Manganiello in costume. Sadly, it never happened. But if The Dark Knight Returns were adapted now, it could easily incorporate elements from that scrapped project. Whether it's Deathstroke returning for a final battle, or just borrowing the darker, more grounded tone Affleck envisioned, this would give fans a chance to see what could have been, without stepping on Matt Reeves' separate Batman universe. And then there's the Nightmare timeline. That gritty, apocalyptic future teased in Batman vs. Superman and brought to life in the Snyder Cut had so much potential. The idea of Darkseid conquering Earth, Superman being corrupted, and Batman leading a small resistance team, it had weight, scope, and urgency. Snyder once planned to expand on that vision using time travel, alternate futures, and the League fighting to change destiny. A Dark Knight Returns-style film could tap into that and offer a glimpse into what became of that version of Earth. Maybe Bruce sacrifices himself to change the future, or maybe we see a twisted world that's too far gone. Either way, it would give purpose and closure to that dangling storyline. One big criticism of the DCEU's Batman arc is how underused his classic rogues were. Joker and Harley Quinn showed up in the wider universe, but villains like Two-Face, Scarecrow, or even Riddler were nowhere to be seen. In The Dark Knight Returns, Batman faces off against the mutant leader, deals with Harvey Dent's psychological decline, and has a deeply disturbing final encounter with Joker. Add in Deathstroke and Catwoman, and you've got a villain roster worthy of a final act. Each of them would test Bruce in different ways, physically, mentally, and emotionally. But it's not just about closing Batman's story, it's about ending the entire Snyderverse on a strong note. The DCEU has been a bumpy ride with highs like Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and lows like inconsistent continuity and cancelled plans. A final movie inspired by The Dark Knight Returns could serve as a farewell to that entire era. Give us one last Justice League moment. Let each character bow out with purpose. Even if some actors carry over to Gunn's DCU, this story could still function as a proper epilogue. So, why haven't we seen that yet? It really boils down to shifting priorities and a bit of behind-the-scenes drama. At first, Ben Affleck was all in. He wanted to direct and star in his own Batman movie, but eventually he stepped away from directing to focus on acting. Not long after that, he exited the project entirely. Warner Brothers brought in Matt Reeves, who cast Robert Pattinson and went in a totally different direction, a younger, moodier Batman in a standalone world. And while The Batman was a hit, it also quietly signaled the end for Affleck's version. In fact, Affleck's Batman mostly faded from view in later DCEU movies. Sure, he had a cameo in The Flash and briefly appeared in early versions of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but those scenes were either reworked or cut. There were versions of Aquaman 2 where both Affleck and Michael Keaton's Batman showed up, but with Gunn planning to reboot the universe, they were ultimately removed. Gunn and Peter Safran didn't want lingering story threads to complicate their clean slate approach, and that left Affleck's Batman without a clear endpoint. Ben Affleck's return as Batman in The Flash should have been emotional, but instead, it left fans confused. He had a great action sequence and a touching goodbye with Barry Allen, but the film's twist ending, featuring George Clooney as Bruce Wayne, blurred the timeline and left Affleck's Batman arc unresolved. This lack of closure has only intensified fan calls for a proper send-off, and many believe The Dark Knight Returns could be the perfect way to do it. Meanwhile, the DCU is pushing forward with a brand new Batman in The Brave and the Bold, who's older than Pattinson's but younger than Affleck's. He's also already a father to Damian Wayne, suggesting a veteran crime fighter still in his prime. While it's an exciting new direction, fans still feel Affleck's Batman deserves a true ending, especially now that Aquaman star Jason Momoa is set to play Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl film. Since Batman and Lobo have fought in the comics, like in Batman vs. Lobo and Batman Superman Volume 2 number 28, fans are speculating, why not bring that rivalry to the screen? Lobo's wild strength clashing with Batman's strategy could be cinematic gold, even as a multiverse cameo or flashback. So when you factor in Affleck's incomplete storylines, from the Nightmare timeline to the scrapped Deathstroke film and Joker arc, it's clear The Dark Knight Returns could deliver the emotional, action-packed farewell the Snyderverse deserves. It's more than nostalgia, it's about finally giving closure to a story that never got its proper ending. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.